A cup of that coffee would be nice, actually. Just black." She poured out 2 cups, utterly bewildered. "Thank you." The older detective sipped the coffee patiently while the younger drew something out of his notepad and handed it across to her. It was a photo of a woman. The woman in the park. "Do you know this woman, Mrs. Rock?" the younger cop asked, his voice surprisingly deep. Sarah looked again. It was the young mother from the park, the one she'd seen several times before, the one she'd thought looked like a younger version of herself. She swallowed hard, the blood pounding in her ears. Why were they here talking to her? Had they seen her in the park, waiting for Lawrence? "Sarah?" Eric asked dubiously. She avoided his gaze, concentrating on the picture. For an instant, she imagined admitting that she'd watched the woman in the park before. She remembered vaguely the woman confronting her, but wasn't sure what it was about. Her thoughts were jumbled as she pictured herself scrambling for an explanation, like a hunted woman trying to cover for herself as they barraged her with more and more questions. "Well, what do you think?" Detective Schmidt asked again. "I don't," she began. But the words stuck in her throat and she shook her head instead. How could she tell them anything without revealing herself to Eric? How could any honest person account for her actions over the past weeks? And where was Lawrence? The phrase she'd seen inscribed on his ring flashed through her mind, sinister now in its implications. Was this somehow about him? In some way, hidden to her, those engraved words, her fate, and that of the woman in the park, were intertwined. Amor vincit omnia. Love conquers all. Part 1. Abstract. Existing in thought or idea. Chapter 1. 4 weeks before. She kept all the impetuosity of her nature carefully concealed within her. She possessed supreme composure and an apparent tranquility that masked terrible transports. Émile Zola, Thérèse Racan. A piercing scream cut through the night. Ripped from her sleep, Sarah sat up, gasping for air. Her heart was pounding in her chest, and her breathing was fast and hot. Where was she? She scanned the darkness, searching for clues. She had no idea. Her silk nightgown clung to her body, and the sheets felt moist with sweat. As Sarah's eyes adjusted to the faint light coming in through the window, the room returned to her, and she knew where she was. Home. Her home. 1122 Park Avenue in Manhattan. She felt a flood of relief. That dream. Again. Then came the realization that the neighbors, no, the whole building, must have heard her scream. Her heart contracted in shame. She looked over to find her husband's sleeping shape beside her. Eric usually awoke to the slightest noise, but no, there he was, breathing peacefully beside her. It must have been a silent scream she'd uttered, a silent nightmare she'd endured. It was the worst kind of nightmare, in a way, the kind that tortured only her. Silently, Sarah slipped out of bed and out of her nightgown, letting it drop to the floor. She tiptoed to the window and opened it. Dawn was on the horizon, the New York sky dark and heavy. A sudden gust of wind blew in, scattering grains of soil from her plants onto the Persian carpet. She needed air, despite her shivering. She couldn't wait to get out of the apartment. A shadow fluttered across the window in the building across from hers, and she felt observed, vulnerable. She looked down and remembered she was naked. Her cheeks flared hot, and she quickly stepped back from the window. She snuck into the bathroom and stood for a while in darkness, letting the dream's last reverberations still within her. That dream, the dark figure hovering over the woman, her and him together.